Welcome to Careers Under Construction. I'm Justice Peterson. On this episode, we speak to David Peters, a contractor turned tech entrepreneur from rural Manitoba and the founder of Construction Clock. David opens up about the risks he took by selling everything, even his first business, to build an app, the pride he takes in his winning team, and how his app is being used by local crews to companies across the globe. Please enjoy David Peters. All right, David, thanks for coming on Careers Under Construction today. Very excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot to unpack today. You moved to Canada when you were 6 years old. You started a construction company, and now you've pivoted into the tech industry, owner, founder of Construction Clock. So lots to cover. Let's rewind all the way back to the start. Just tell me about, your move to Canada and how you settled here.
Yeah, so my parents grew up in Mexico, and we were predominantly farmers out there. And so every time my mom got pregnant, she'd drive out to Canada, because back then you could kind of come and go as you wanted. They'd have a baby, and then they would make their way back to Mexico. And so we did that.
How many siblings do you have?
I have five brothers and sisters.
Brothers. Okay, so it's a big family. You said like every time my mom got pregnant.
Yeah. So the Mennonites have big families, and
Right.
so yeah, my older brothers and sisters were all born here, and then we'd go back down to Mexico. And then after my younger brother was born, we went back one more time, and then we ended up staying out here. And just for economic reasons, there's just job opportunities here. Mm-hmm. So my parents stayed here. We bought a farm out in the Pembina Hills, which is just right on the Manitoba-U.S. border. And we farmed for a while. And so I grew up in the country and just working with my hands, mm-hmm. just like normal farm life. And then when I turned 16, it was like, when I turned 16, my parents decided to build like their dream home. They wanted to we had lived in farmhouses our whole lives. And so they were like, okay, we're going to build a house. And their natural kind of inclination was like, we can just do this ourselves. Mm. We don't need to pay anybody to do this. We might need like a plumber, an electrician, but we can do most of this. And so
that's the Mennonite way, right?
Exactly. My brother my brother's 5 years older than me. He had built a house, and he was working at a lumber yard. They laid him off for the winter so he could build his house. So we kind of watched as he did that. So my dad was like, yeah, I have the confidence we can do this too. Mm. And so I was 16. I didn't really like school to begin with. So my dad and me both worked full time, just normal jobs, factory jobs, and then we were building the house evenings and weekends. And so that took 2 years, and I got a very good dynamic look at what construction was, building a foundation, framing up a house, roofing, siding, insulation, drywall, finishing. Mm. So you get a really good look at like all the different trades. You're touching everything. Mm-hmm. And so then when I turned 18, I got a job for a concrete company, and I probably did that for a summer doing concrete work, and then just thought like, some of the people I was working with, they were there as subcontractors, and some of us were employees, and I didn't really understand that. So I started asking them what that was all about, and they're like, yeah, I used to be an employee, and I got a GST number, and now I subcontract myself. So I think the next summer I started doing that, where I got my own GST number, and then I could work for all sorts of different trades. Hmm. And so that was kind of my childhood getting into construction, and I did that as a teenager.
Nice. And so that's naturally how you got your start in basically becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own construction company, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought about it as being an entrepreneur. It was always just like, I need a job, I need to make money,
Right.
and you're a teenager, so what's the most amount of money I can make? And in a factory, maybe I could make $15 an hour. In construction, I could maybe make $20 an hour, and if I worked for myself, I could maybe make a little bit more than that. And so I literally never thought about it as being an entrepreneur. I was just like, I just want to make money, and I would rather work outside working with my hands than in a factory. And so it was like more of like a survival thing more than anything else. I don't really feel like I had the luxury of like thinking, what do I want to do for a living? Right. It was like, I had to do this. So now I have these skills, and what do I want to do now? So that's the way I looked at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like when you had your own construction company, how big did you grow your team to? Was it a small team? Did you grow up pretty large?
Yeah, so for the first while, it was pretty small. I'd have like 1 or 2 employees at the beginning, and we'd work. And then in the wintertime, a lot of the stuff we're doing is weather dependent. So I'd lay a couple guys off. Over time, I'd start to retain guys for the whole year, and then we'd work a lot of hours in the summer, and then maybe we'd work a lot less in the winter, and so at our biggest, I had about 12 employees, and we were running 2 to 3 projects at a time. But that was closer to the end of my career. Like I think when I hit 30, I was like, okay, I'm going to really try and scale this up. I'd already been doing it for about 10 years, and so that's where I was like, okay, I'm going to take on entire projects. I'm going to be the GC. I'm going to work directly with the customer, and I'm also going to be the people on site doing the work. So, nice. Yeah, 12 people, and basically like owning the entire construction project.
Right. Interesting. Okay, so you got a good foundation, like managing people, taking on projects, dealing with clients, kind of that like foundation you need as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Then you moved over and had this brilliant idea, and Construction Clock was born. Now I want to get into that, but so Construction Clock is like, it essentially clocks people in and out automatically and eliminates timesheets on job sites, like just to kind of put it short, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with like this brilliant idea?
Yeah, I didn't think it was super brilliant at the beginning, but when I decided to do this, it was years of dealing with a lot of different challenges in my construction company. So timesheets were always wrong. Like I would always go over timesheets and be like, there's something wrong here. Like these hours don't make sense, and then I would have my team allocate hours to specific projects, but the hours always seemed ridiculous, and it never seemed like it was that accurate. And so we naturally just got into, okay, we're going to use like a time tracking app, but then oftentimes guys would forget to clock in and clock out, and they'd be editing hours, and none of that made sense either. So it was basically like we just digitized the same problem. And
so there was actually an app already that does this, but just not automatically. Like you still had to go in and manually enter your information.
Yeah,
okay, interesting.
So
I didn't know that.
There's hundreds of time tracking apps.
Okay.
And they're all equally bad because it has the same problem, which is that they're a manual. You got to remember to take out your phone. So if you're starting work on Monday at 7 a.m. and you first drive an hour to get there, and then you get to site, the last thing you're going to do is remember, are we all clocked in properly? So it was basically the same problem we had before, and it was just one of the things I thought about, where I was like, it would be really cool if somebody had an app where it just tracked everybody's time automatically. With GPS, it knew where they were, and just everybody's time was tracked, and the project was tracked properly. And that was like the biggest thing, is, are we making money on projects? And when the hours aren't accurate, and like 50% of your expense is labor on that project, then it's really problematic when like 10 to 15% of the hours are incorrect, and so you don't actually get a really good look at at profitability on projects. So it was one of the things I thought about. You know, scheduling and all the things around scheduling were an issue. So that was like another thing I was thinking about. But ultimately, I had to pick something, and I had to like, okay, I'm gonna do automatic time and attendance, and I'm gonna really try and solve for that. And then I thought, oh, I'll just start layering things in over time, and you don't realize like when you get going, you know, solving a tech problem is actually really difficult.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're almost 3 years into this, and we're still solving for that that major piece.
Wow. So when you first started the company then, Construction Clock, were you still running your construction business and kind of doing this on the side? Or had you like closed up and put both feet into this right away? Like how did that work for you?
Yeah, so the last summer I did this, I told my employees that it was going to be my last year. And some of them were already thinking that they were going to start their own construction companies. And then, you know, some of those employees were going to work for, you know, some of my lead hands. So I was like, okay, great. Like, I'm going to kind of have a hard stop of October 31st. We're going to finish the next 2 projects, and then we're officially done. And I wanted to set them up for success. It was COVID, so like there was more work than you could shake a stick at. But the education piece was missing there of like how they actually run projects. Like they knew how to do the work, but how to effectively run projects and like progress payments and, you know, the way it works with suppliers, you know, like net 30, net 60 and like things like that, like, and managing their cash flow. So that last summer, I spent some time with them, like just really kind of explaining how they could successfully run construction projects. And then October 31st hit, and we probably had a couple weeks left after that where it was just like, okay, some cleanup work, some warranty work, and some change order stuff. And then November 17th was like the hard, like, okay, I'm done. It was a Friday. I went home. I put all my tools in the garage, and some of my tools I had sold to my employees. And then I put my truck and trailer up for sale. And then that Monday I went into a little co-working office that I had rented. And then that was like the first day of Construction Clock.
Wow, crazy. Tell me about that first like month or two. Like, you know, you had a problem. I think it's interesting that you actually came from the industry. Like you were in that industry, you recognized a problem, you knew that you needed to solve it, and so you just went like full steam ahead.
Yeah.
But surely, you know, like going from construction to tech, like building an app, probably, I'm going to assume that like you're not a tech app builder yourself, and you probably needed a lot of money to get started. So like, what was the first month like?
Yeah. The first month was very, very lonely because I didn't know where to even really begin. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time just kind of basically building out a business plan. And it kind of created a framework for me of like, okay, so what are the big challenges we want to solve for? Who are the people I'm going to need for this? Who's going to be my target customer? How much money am I going to need for this? And what I realized like a year later is all of that was wrong, but you still need to go through that process to at least start like imagining how some of this stuff is going to come together. And so I didn't know what a pitch deck was, but nobody does business plans anymore. It's all a pitch deck. I guess in tech it's like this. You build a pitch deck, and then you can pitch both your prospective customers of like, hey, I don't have anything right now, but this is what I'm going to be building. And so in Winnipeg, I hadn't actually gotten to know a lot of the trades besides like a few people that I communicated with on Instagram. So I first messaged those people and I said, this is what I'm going to do. What do you think? Like, would you be some of my first customers? And a lot of them, you know, they're excited about what you're doing. So they're like, yeah, I'm interested. And so, okay, the first layer is pretty easy. So and I spent the first month definitely like doing a lot of networking. You know, I got a LinkedIn profile. I hadn't done really anything on there. And I started showing up to construction sites and just talking to the owners and saying, this is what I'm doing. A lot of rejection, a lot of like, I don't even know if this is a real solution or a real problem that you need to solve for. And you get a lot of varying degrees of answers. And so then I went back and I said, okay, I got to build this. I got to build out what I'm envisioning, and then I got to take it to them. And when I take it to them, that's where I'm going to get the real feedback, like giving them something to try.
Yeah, so you still hadn't, like, when you started, you didn't even have the idea, like, validated really yet by customers. You were out there pounding the pavement, seeing if this was a problem that really needed to be solved.
I had validated it for me as a construction company,
Right?
But I needed to validate that a lot of other construction companies would use it in the same way. Like, and we are biased when we think like, oh, this is definitely a problem for the industry. Well, is this just a problem for you in the industry, or is this a problem for the industry as a whole? And so, no, I hadn't validated it, but I had a strong conviction based on like all the years that I had been doing it.
Yeah.
But really what I wanted to do is get like 100 companies on a list and basically be able to go back to them 3 months later after we built the app and say, here's our first version, please use this.
Right.
And so that's basically what we did.
Yeah. And how did you raise your money for that first little while? Like, did you family, friends type of thing, your own personal, or did you do like a Kickstarter or something?
So I sold all of my equipment and tools, and I had enough money to get us through that first year. For me, I thought it would last a lot longer, but as soon as you hire people, you realize, oh, like I'm spending real money now. So I think I probably thought I had enough money for the first year, and it probably lasted me 6 to 9 months. It got me to the point where we had an app. We had probably 30 or 40 companies using the app for free. They weren't paying us. And then from there, I had enough of a feedback loop that then I could go to some angel investors, which I didn't know what that was, but just construction guys that really liked what I was doing, and they would write me $50,000 checks, $20,000 checks, and I started raising money. And so the first round I raised was probably $300,000. And that, again, was just enough to get us to that next milestone that we needed to get to. So it wasn't a lot. You have to be very scrappy at the beginning. So we were, our team was small. It was only 4 of us. But it allowed us to just keep going and keep validating it.
Interesting. So when you started that in the beginning, like obviously you said you didn't have any experience in tech. Was your goal always to try to maintain 100% equity, or did you know from the beginning, like, as soon as you take investor money, right, you're getting diluted, and eventually there's probably going to be an exit down the road, like whether that's 2 years or 20 years, But what was, like, when you went into it, what was your goal?
So I had owned 100% of my construction business.
Right.
And that grew very slowly.
Right.
So I was at a point where I was very okay with bringing in investors and owning less.
Right.
So my goal was to build an app, grow it to be very large, and then sell it to, in my mind, it was like, okay, maybe Procore or Builder Trend or somebody will buy us.
Right.
So that was my thoughts at the beginning.
Yep.
And so the goal was build it, raise money, sell it, and the investors get a return on investment.
Yeah.
And that's how I pitched it.
Yeah.
I think my vision's always been consistent there.
Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting because, like, in the like, I'm in the service industry, and I mean, obviously you kind of are too, but more so the product industry, right?
Yeah.
In the service industry, for us, it's like you provide a service, and it's done, and you either get a repeat client or you're on to the next one.
Yeah.
But in the product industry, your product's like, it's never done, right? It's constantly evolving. You're constantly working on it. Like, I feel like if I was to take like a Reese's peanut butter cup, I'm just going to use that as an example because it's my favorite chocolate bar. But people, like, from the outside, they'd look at that and they'd say, like, oh, a Reese's peanut butter cup is it's a chocolate bar and it's done. But they actually come out with like constant little like 0.2% changes, like little tiny iterations that always make it a little different. And it's the same in tech, right? Like construction clock is always changing. You're listening to customer feedback and evolving that way. Yeah. Like that. How do you like that? Like constantly changing like that?
I love it. The world is changing around us, and the products that we are using need to change too. And we're at a day and age where everybody's used to things changing. Our iPhones keep changing. The apps keep getting updated. We are never done, and we have a lot of customers now, and we get a lot of feedback from our customers, and so we have the opportunity of constantly making the app better. And I love that. And I love our business model, which is we get paid monthly. It's a recurring revenue. So, I look at service and I'm like, oh, I'm glad that every single month these customers are paying us again. And then they're giving us data about how we can make this product better. And I personally love the industry that I chose, and I probably knew about none of this at the beginning. You have the idea of, okay, it's going to be recurring revenue, but you don't understand the impact that you can have in tech, and that's the biggest reward for us, is the amount of impact that we're having right now.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, where do you get the confidence from, right? Like, is it the scoreboard? Is it the impact you're having on people? Is it the money?
Yeah, so for me, I tell everybody the biggest reward for us is the team that we've built. We built a team in construction, and it was great. We've truly built like a rock star team in our office, and it is by far my biggest accomplishment, because I've poured my entire heart into this thing, and my team sees that. And because of that, we can serve so many customers now because of the team that I'm building, not because of something that I've done or something that the product and the customer is a byproduct of the team that we've put together. And that's by far like my motivating factor. It's definitely not the money. I would say a close second would be the amount of impact. We have a lot of customers in Australia, and they'll call us. It's a 12-hour time difference, and so sometimes they're calling us at different hours of the night, and they're giving us ideas and feedback, and like sometimes it's issues. Like sometimes, the app's giving us an issue, and I feel honored that we can serve people around the world.
That's great. I like how you said it's not about the money, because I feel like that's something that's like really underrated. Like a lot of people feel like somebody starts a company, they're just doing it for the money. But if you're in it for like the right reasons, the reward, the building the team, those things are extremely, extremely rewarding at the end of the day. And then also surrounding yourself with like the right people, right? The people that are like there to support you. Going back to the confidence thing, if you have a tight-knit family, you worked in construction, you have people around you that are like, oh man, you're starting a tech company. I believe you can do this. Like, you're smart, you're intelligent. Like, they're giving you those types of compliments where it's like, okay, I do actually believe I can do this. So you don't have to doubt yourself and have that negative talk. Because in the beginning, man, before you had any of the money, like there was probably times where you're wondering like, man, can I actually even accomplish this goal?
Yeah, and I wish that people around me at that time had said, I believe in you, you can do this. Because most people around me were like, you're crazy. You have a good business right now. Why would you give that up for something else? And so I was really feeling the pressure of that. Plus, also the pressure of just like going into the unknown and going into an industry that I know nothing about. And so you have to have a lot of belief in yourself. And I'm very happy that I had the perseverance to endure all the hardship at the beginning. That was a strong self-belief I had.
Did you have, like at the beginning, had you found like a mentor or somebody that was able to like help you out along the way? Or were you...
Yeah, at the beginning, it wasn't a single person. I would meet people that I really needed at that time. So I would meet somebody who would become a customer and then also an investor, and they would motivate me in different ways. And so I'd start spending a lot of time with them because I needed a huge feedback loop. Okay, how's this working? And so I'd end up spending 4 to 8 to 12 weeks with this person almost every single day. And then, you know, they're running a successful company, and I'm trying to learn from them. And okay, what would you do in this situation? And then they would eventually kind of get set up, and so then I'd move on to another person. But just being in business and being in tech, I started meeting people very quickly, and so I started to build this tight knit group around me of tech entrepreneurs here in Winnipeg who had done it before me or were doing it and were further along. And I learned a ton, and I still learn a ton from that group of people.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that there was some people that had done it before me to prove that it was possible. That really helped me a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because, you know, like in the world, like there's two types of mentorships, right? There's vertical mentorship, where somebody has done it before you, say it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. Usually that's somebody who, like, that mentor would be quite significantly older than you.
Yeah.
Right? I had that early on in my career. At the last company I worked for, I had an older mentor who had built this company, and, you know, he was very close to retirement. The problem with that mentorship for me is it was really hard to connect the dots. Like, they were doing things in an old school way that wasn't, you know, that was kind of outdated.
Yeah.
Markets change, right? So what you just referred to is something that I'm really a big fan on. Like, in terms of vertical mentorship, I'm kind of bearish on that, but horizontal mentorship, I'm very bullish on.
Yeah.
So, like, finding a network of people that are doing the exact same thing that you're doing, plus or minus a year or two,
Yeah.
right? Like, similar things. They're either building a company like you, they've gone through experiences that you are. It could be a person, it could be a network, it could be a group, but horizontal mentorship, man, that's kind of like, personally, what I really believe in.
Yeah.
I think that, like, older mentor or the vertical mentorship is, like, really overrated, in my opinion.
Yeah. So horizontal mentorship is far more relatable because they can give you stuff that, you know, that they're going through now or that they just went through.
Right.
That you can apply to your business.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people that have been doing it their entire career, I don't even think they always remember exactly how they got through certain things, and so it doesn't transfer nearly as well.
Right, and the memory's a little foggy. Like,
Yeah.
the story's probably a little exaggerated on how they got there or
Yep.
what they did, right? The steps along the way. Yeah, and the cool thing I like about horizontal mentorship, like, is it doesn't even have to be the same industry, right? Like, I'm in recruiting, you're in tech, but we can offer each other horizontal mentorship. And hey, you scaled a team. How did you get there? How did you hire so many people in the first year? Did you experience, like, marginal slippage? Where were your weaknesses?
Yeah.
It's more about the people and what you've done recently
Yeah.
than it is. Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad you brought that up. Now, so you're in year 3 now, right, of Construction Clock?
Yeah. So October will be 3 years.
Okay, perfect. So year 1, year 2, year 3, you started with 0 customers, 0 staff. When was your first hire, and when did you start actually, like, charging clients? Like, when did you feel like, hey, we have, you know, people doing this for free, we need to start making some revenue here?
Yeah. So I started in November, like middle of November, and I hired my first person in April.
Okay.
And so April, I needed to get a really good understanding of what I was going to build. And I spent the first couple of months designing the entire app myself. I didn't know I had designing ability. And I basically designed the entire architecture of the whole app. And then when I hired 3 people right away, and they very quickly built the app. So we launched it probably 2 months later, and it was, when I say like launch day, it was a very ugly version of what it is now. But we launched that. I had already built the relationship, so I said, okay, here's the app to, and it was mostly companies in Winnipeg that that were the early users, and we probably started charging them 6 months later. I think some of them I had negotiated deals. If they said, okay, what are you charging for it? I would say like, oh, $3 per user or something like that. And then if some people are like, oh, I'm not using this, I'm like, well, what if it's free? And so then they would use it. So I had little carve-outs for every customer at the beginning, and there was only 30 or 40, so it was pretty easy to kind of manage that.
Yeah.
We went to a model of $10 American, because we realized like a lot of our customers were coming in from the US, and we started charging in that November. We started charging for it, and then everybody had to start paying for it. And it was far enough along, and it was good enough where nobody said, I'm not using this now that I have to pay money for it. They all switched over, and that was really validating for me.
Wow. So within 1 year, you were generating revenue. How much money had you sunk into it at that point? Do you remember?
Yeah, those are the scary answers. A year, when we started charging like a real rate for it, we were probably into the company for just over $1 million.
Okay.
So I had sunk in my entire life savings, and I was selling everything I could, and I sold my truck and I got a little car, and so we were into it for $1 million, and then we started generating revenue, and we were still spending probably $50,000 a month more than we were making.
Okay.
And so like with advertising dollars,
You were burning $50K a month.
Yeah, so our burn rate was $50K a month.
Right.
And I knew that, and it was part of our model, and I had told my investors, look, we're going to keep raising additional rounds, and but we're going to keep growing, so this will be worth it.
Yep.
And there was a big education piece at the beginning with my investors, because it's like most of my investors around here, they're running profitable businesses.
Right.
So the concept of having a non-profitable business is a hard concept to understand. Like, you're going to have to keep borrowing money all the time.
Yep.
And I'm like, yep, it's a series of raises. But every time we raise, our valuation goes up because we've got more traction, we've got more revenue. You're basically explaining a venture capital model to normal everyday investors.
Were you able to figure out at that point like what your like cost per customer acquisition was, like pretty early on?
Yeah. Because we're in tech, we use software that tells us all of that.
Yeah.
And so, we were able to figure out exactly what a customer would cost us to bring in. It was very expensive. And we're like...
It always is in the early days, right? And as you get better at what you do, that price goes down.
It's 20 times less now to bring in a customer than it did at the beginning.
Wow, that's impressive.
It was probably $1,000 to bring in a new user, and now it's $50 to bring in a new user. So
wow,
it's significantly less.
So that after that first year, what was your, like, you started charging in that November, what was your revenue after you started charging people in your first year?
It was probably around $5,000 a month.
Okay.
It was very meager. Like, we knew that we had to consistently bring in more customers so that revenue would increase.
Yeah.
And so, we were increasing our revenue at the beginning by maybe $1,000 a month.
Okay.
We'd bring on a couple of new customers. Okay, that's $1,000 of revenue there.
Right.
And so, by the next summer, we were probably at around $15,000 a month.
Wow.
So we could see that upward trajectory, and
Right,
I was our sales guy, so I was bringing in all the customers.
Right.
And so, I could see that it was working.
Wow. And I saw that you posted on LinkedIn the other day that you guys onboarded like hundreds of new customers in 1 month, right?
Yeah.
Just recently?
Yeah. So in July, we brought in 227 new companies. And 1,064 new users.
Wow. And is that your best month today?
That would have been that's our best month ever. This month we'll crush that. We'll bring in over 300 companies this month.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. So more companies, more users, more revenue every month. And you've also gone from 0 employees to, I think you said you have 23 now, right? So like in 3 years, you've scaled this business impressively. In tech, you do see companies that scale like super quick. There's graveyards of them and they're all dead, right?
Yep.
Or they're like a shell of what they used to be.
Yep.
But then there's other companies where they scale like a lot more strategically, right? And when I see a tech company in 3 years going from 0 to 23, like that seems strategic to me from the outside looking in. But like you must look around and be like, holy shit, there's a lot going on here. Like, what do you think about all that?
Yeah. 3 years ago, I would have looked at somebody with 23 employees and all the stuff that we have going on, and I would have been like scared.
Right.
It happens very organically, and we don't bring people in unless we have a ton of work for them to do, and they are the right person to do it.
Right.
And so
you still feel like you're running pretty lean.
Yeah, there's a lot of catch up for us to do. We could easily have 40 employees and there to be work for everybody. So we grow very organically, and I'm very unorthodox in the way I hire, and it's funny because I'm talking to a recruiter, and you guys have principles and methodologies for hiring, and you couldn't find somebody that hires more unorthodox than me. I always hire based on character first, and oftentimes they will not have a role in my company when I hire them. And so it's different when I can hire for my own team. So I'm like, this person's incredible and they need to come work for us, and I'm going to find out what they're amazing at. It doesn't always work. We've gotten it right about 80% of the time where we brought people in, and it's just like, this is a slam dunk. And because of that, now I can be sitting here on a podcast with you, and my entire team is working, and I don't ever have to think about them. When I leave the office, I never think about, I wonder what's going on at the office.
That's awesome, man. Because so many times in entrepreneurship, and I still feel this sometimes, is like, as the owner, you just wear so many hats, right? Yeah. Like you got to do payroll. You said yourself, you're the face of the company. You're the sales guy, but you also do some development in the app. Like there's just so many hats. It's moving so fast all the time.
Yeah.
There's days where I feel like I look around and I'm like, I feel like a day in my life is like a week or a month in somebody else's life, with just like how many balls I've got going on in the air, right? Yep. But do you still feel that, or do you feel like you're a little bit removed from that now?
Yeah, this summer I made a transition. For the last year, I was working in my business and on my business at the same time. And this summer I clearly transitioned where I felt like I had all the right people in place, where I could just officially work on my business now, and I don't work inside the nuts and bolts of it anymore. And so my challenges are a lot different. I feel kind of that loneliness again because I'm doing things that the rest of the team isn't supporting me on. But I do wear a lot of hats. It's just a lot different now. We're going into a fundraise right now. And so you're talking about millions of dollars that we're fundraising. And so I'm spending a lot of time meeting with investors from around the world and selling my company. I'm constantly talking about our company and repeating myself over and over again. Am I wearing a lot of hats? Yes, I am. I feel like I have enough systems and processes in place in my company that I can wear my hats on working on the business, and I really don't have to think too much about what's happening inside the business. And that really goes, I give all that credit to my leaders inside my company. They really act, they have stock options, so they all own the company with me. My entire company owns the company with me. But my leaders really treat the company as if it's their own. So when I'm gone, I'm off to Europe after this week, and I know my leadership team is going to run the company with excellence. And so I get to go there and compartmentalize what's happening over there, and I really don't have to worry too much about what's happening back at home.
Nice. That's great that you're able to step back and work on the business. That's kind of like that horizontal mentorship thing, right? Like, it'd be great for me. I would love to get to that point, but at the same time, I work in the business as at least a full-time job.
Yep.
And then I work on the business like when I can as well.
Yep.
I'm a practitioner. I still run my own recruiting desk. I touch every client that comes in the door, and I love that. But at the same time, I think it's also like a fear or a trust thing where it's like, if I pass this on, is it going to succeed?
Yep.
Right? And that's one thing I'm curious to know about you, because as a tech company, you said yourself, like, you're the sales guy, you're the founder. Let's say down the road that you sell this company. Do you feel like it's going to be able to live up to the expectations with your face not on it anymore?
Yeah, I do think about that often. It will be very hard to hand this off to the next ownership group.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're not able to say, hey, I want it done this way, or even if you remain the CEO, it's not your company anymore.
Right.
I have a mentor, owns a large company, and he had to make a decision of, did he want to scale that company, or did he want to control that company and have things exactly the way he wanted? And he decided, we're going to scale up this company. Instead of just operating in Manitoba, we're going to operate kind of throughout Canada. And so when he would go into his shop, not every tool was perfectly on the wall, and there's kind of messes everywhere. And he had to accept that because they were scaling, not everything is going to be exactly the way he wants it. And those are trade-offs. And I feel like we make trade-offs. There's certain things you can have your personal touch on your business because you're still running your recruiting desk. You're able to touch those customers. I see emails and I'm like, oh, that's not how I would have responded to that. But at this point, it's not my choice. It's my I gotta mentor my customer team, and then they need to work with the customers, and they're not going to answer emails exactly the way I would, and that's the thing I got to accept when I am running a scaling company, is that there is trade-offs to this.
Right. You got to be able to let go.
Yes, 100%.
Cool. So you mentioned earlier that you're going through another round of investments now. At this point, I'm assuming it's not like people, it's more like institutional stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. So like when you're doing that, and then you're also looking for new clients, now that you've gotten bigger, like, does your client base, the ones that you're targeting and focus on, like, does that change? Like, do you like to go after bigger companies now, or do you still like the smaller? Like, as entrepreneurs, one thing that we always do when we start out is, like, at the beginning, you kind of have to go squirrel hunting. But then as you get better and better, your brand becomes established. You kind of, you chase bigger stuff, right? You go big buck hunting.
Yep.
Right. But there's only so many big bucks out there, right? Like, what do you like to go after now?
Yeah. So the temptation for companies is always to go larger.
Right.
If you're serving SMB, let's serve mid-market. If you're serving mid-market, let's go enterprise.
Right.
And the grass is always greener. We have stayed hyper-focused on an industry we call VSMB, so very small and medium business. So the reason we're able to bring on so many companies is because they're very small companies. They're, 1 to 25 employees typically. And they're a construction company that's 99% of the time they're a subcontractor. They're doing a specific trade, so they're a plumbing company in Idaho, or they're an electrical company in Georgia. And it's a guy like me, typically running a crew of 5 to 20 people, and they're trying to run their business as efficiently as possible. And what they need is solutions like ours. And what I have seen in the industry is that there's a lot of tech that is aimed for the big bucks, the larger companies, and not enough software that's serving the small companies. So I remain focused on that market, the squirrels, as you like to put it.
Interesting. That's good. And do you feel like that could ever change?
Yeah, it will change as our company grows and our technology gets better and better. I'll give you an example. So we have the best time and attendance platform, bar none, in the construction industry. One of the things that we have yet to do is cost codes. Well, very small construction companies typically don't do cost codes, but as you know, in any sort of mid-market or above, they're tracking cost codes very closely.
Yeah.
And so we have waited until a lot of our small companies are saying it would be really nice to see cost codes in here. Like, we'll use your app, but we'd love to see it. And now that there's probably like 1,000 companies that probably would like to see cost codes that have come through our platform, we're like, okay, we're going to build this out and we're going to push that. Well, that will also serve larger companies. So we know that we will get larger and larger companies as we come out with these features. They are there to serve the small customer, but they will naturally just also serve larger customers. And we definitely will see groups of 50, 100. You know, our largest customer right now is 250 employees. The reason they got to 250 people is because when they started with us, they were 150 people and pulling their hair out, managing 150 timesheets. They pay weekly. And so every week they're spending 2 days with two payroll people going through timesheets and making sure everything's perfect. And now they've been able to grow their company without pulling their hair out because of an app like ours. So we know our app is great for larger companies. We just really love serving small companies.
Yeah, that probably saves them a lot of, like, obviously a lot of time. But, you know, when a timesheet is incorrect, it takes a lot of time to investigate why it's incorrect. And at the end of the day, it may just save like an hour of labor, right? So yeah, I could definitely see the problem that you're solving for a lot of clients.
Yeah.
That's great. So you went from 0 clients to how many clients or users do you have today on the app?
Yeah, so right now we have right around 2,000 companies on the platform and right around 11,000 users.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty. Like, I would say that's pretty aggressive growth. I'm gonna guess that a lot of that is obviously your sales, but personal and company branding as well. Like, I've seen some of your stuff online. We've been connected for a long time on LinkedIn, so I wanted to talk to you about personal branding for a minute. I actually think that we first met on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I probably sent you an email 2 years ago saying you should invest in our company, and that's probably how we got connected at the beginning.
Yeah, and apparently I should have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to get in today for the evaluation you had 2 years ago.
Perfect.
So anyway, going back to personal branding, what's your take on that? And like, is LinkedIn kind of like your main source, or are you using lots of different tools?
Yeah, so I put it in 2 categories. So for personal branding, for like David Peters, the founder and CEO of this company, it's all LinkedIn. And somebody, like an investor, will look at my LinkedIn to see how legitimate I am and how I present myself and things like that. On the company side, you know, if we're trying to like grow or show off to our customers, that's all done weirdly enough on Instagram. We spend a lot of time finding our customers on Instagram. The small construction guy, and the reason I know this is because every moment that I had, like on a roof waiting for somebody to bring me, you know, some material, I'll pull up my phone, I'd see what time it is, I'd see if I have any emails, and then I'd scroll Instagram and see what Jay Smith is doing. I'll see what Bensky is doing. You know, I'll just see what my friends are building. And it's because of that I knew that tradespeople, the small guys, live on Instagram, and that's where we could get through to them. That was going to be our distribution channel. So we've built a brand for our customers on Instagram, and we have a really good brand on there. And then personally, my brand is LinkedIn. And that's true. And I would agree with you. Like, there's different platforms out there, right? But the thing is, like, the same human brain looks at all these different platforms, and they're all for different things. Yeah.
So, like, Facebook is very old and outdated and kind of more like alumnus feeling.
Yep.
Instagram, like you alluded to, is kind of like a lush magazine.
Yep.
But it's really, really good for selling products.
Yep.
Twitter is just dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And then LinkedIn is like people are there for business, entrepreneurship, information, education.
Yep.
Like very business acumen, like-minded people there.
Right.
So yeah, that's interesting. And when did you decide that it'd be a good idea to build a personal brand? Because I feel like, I don't know if this is coincidental with like when you started Construction Clock or if it was like during COVID, but there was a shift from like not a lot of people used it and it was like mostly companies to like nowadays there's like a shift that happened where it's like very like founder voices are getting a lot more traction than companies are, I think.
Yep.
And like for me personally, that was kind of the only way that I could build a brand because like recruitment's not exciting. Like, oh, we're recruiting another construction manager. Great. But 99% of people in the world don't care about that. The news is certainly not going to cover it. So we weren't going to have any like third party coverage. So it's like, if I want to build a brand, like we have to do it on LinkedIn and we have to personally do it.
Yep.
Right. But for you, it's like, you know, tech company, that's kind of interesting. Like, why did you decide to do that?
Yeah. So
was it like a credibility thing?
it was definitely credibility. I first of all, I went there to get access to like professionals like yourself, who are the guys that like. I mean, at first, I really went there to see if our customers were on there.
Right.
And some of the larger companies are,
Yep.
you know, the box stalls and the.
That's why a lot of people join LinkedIn.
Yeah, and they're not our customer. So
Right.
as soon as I figured out they weren't our customer, some of these people were.
Oh, hold on a second.
TV just went off.
Oh,
Sleep mode.
Sleep mode. Thank you. All right, let's take it back to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Do you want me to just start my phrase over again?
Do you remember where you started?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So why did you decide to like join LinkedIn and build your personal brand?
So at first it was because I wanted to see if my customers were on there, and I realized that only larger construction companies were on there, and they weren't really our target customer. But then I realized professionals like yourself were on there, and so I could start networking. I needed to hire some people, so then I used it to hire some of my first employees. You know, some of my first employees were just graduating university, and they go to LinkedIn to find their first job. So, okay, I hire some of them. Well, then I have to be credible. I'm trying to hire these people and recruit them over like a large firm. So I needed to look professional. And then on that, then I would start meeting other professionals, and it's like, okay, well, what stage of life are you at? Okay, so you'd like to look at maybe investing in a company like ours, great. And then I started looking at it as the ability to go down to, you know, the International Builders Show in Vegas. Okay, well, I'd like to reach out to these people and set up meetings beforehand. And so you have to build credibility and you have to build a personal brand. And I didn't really think about it as like, I got to build a personal brand. It's just like, I got to just be a legitimate founder at the very early stages of my company, and I got to have them take me seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important, like the credibility thing, authenticity, which is like what you were just referring to. Obviously, I like the fact that like you share, you know, your wins, but more importantly, like losses or things like weaknesses that you learned along the way. Like those things are all, people relate to that, right?
Yeah.
LinkedIn's kind of funny though. Like there's a lot of support on there, but there can also be like a lot of people that hate. Like I had the other day, I had somebody message me, like DM me, just like, you know, I try to post every 2 weeks. I should be posting more, but every 2 weeks. And this one guy messaged me and says, "Oh, you're celebrating something again. Hey, just take a break already." You know, or I posted about a month ago about like how we won a new client, and this guy comments on it, like, same guy, by the way. He says, "Oh, you won a new client? That's a slow Tuesday afternoon for me," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, listen, there's not that many haters out there, but for some reason they tend to stick in my mind more than the people that support me, which they shouldn't.
Yeah, and I feel like business is so hard that like celebrating our wins on LinkedIn it's not a gloating thing. It's really like just like having other people have successes and like sharing in that.
Yeah.
Because as we know, it's business is tough, and we should be showing our wins on LinkedIn. The ability to like, I see posts where people are like, hey, I've been like losing my mind for the last 6 months, and this is what I've been going through. I really give those people a lot of credit for being able to like humble themselves and post stuff like that.
Yeah, and just like be vulnerable, right?
Yeah. I wish I would actually be able to do more of that, and I'm scared to kind of put that out there and show that level of vulnerability. But I'm really proud of people for being able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. So you've taken this company, Construction Clock, to like a whole new level in the last 3 years. When you grow a business like that, man, like you've more than doubled your size each year, which is crazy growth.
Yeah.
And and it sounds like you're on pace to do that again.
Yeah.
So when you do something like that, you don't like what you did last year isn't going to work this year, or it might, but it's not going to cause like the aggressive growth to double in size again. Right. So you almost need to like unlock something new all the time, which I'm assuming probably comes from a lot of your like customer feedback loops, which is great. But you're doing that in the business. The business is changing, but so are you. Like you're changing, you're evolving with the business.
Yeah.
It requires a different set of skills, individual skills. Like, is there something that you've noticed about yourself personally that like you've grown through over the last few years?
Yeah. This year especially, things that I used to probably get pretty heated about and stressed out about and lose sleep at night, I've been able to just, my floor and ceiling for my emotions are a lot smaller than they used to be, where you just take things in stride now. So that's one thing I'm really happy about, that I'm able to just like manage more and get worked up less about it. Being able to do stuff like this, I would have probably never been able to do 2 or 3 years ago, because I just didn't have that confidence in myself I had the confidence in myself, but it was like a quiet confidence where I'm like, oh, I can do this, but I'm not able to talk about it. And now I'm at the point where it doesn't matter who's in the room. I can talk to anybody. And I have enough humility that I'm like, I know who I am, and there's something to learn from this person, or there's something I can give to this person. I would have never been able to do that 3 years ago. I would have been shaky and nervous, and then probably need a drink or something. And a lot of that stuff has just gotten so much easier. So
Nice.
My ability to lead and just like lead with confidence and just not a level of cockiness, but just being myself and just being okay with who I am and my strengths and weaknesses. Man, it's such a good feeling to be at this point in my life.
And just be yourself, man. That's great, and that's the most important thing. I feel like if we would have had this conversation 3 years ago, like in your first month, like you probably would have been a lot more intense, like a lot more reactive, maybe. Because, and that's understandable though, because like your idea hadn't been validated yet, you weren't on the growth trajectory. But that's 3 years ago. Today's today.
Yeah.
And my last question to you then, David, is 3 to 5 years from now, where do you see this company and yourself?
Yeah, so we're in planning stage right now. We're doing our master plan number 2. I always joke that master plan number 1 was to not die as a company, and we successfully completed that master plan. And so 3 to 5 years. We are building out our team here in Winnipeg. We'll probably have between 100 and 200 people here in Winnipeg in 3 to 5 years. Like a lot of our growth dictates exactly how big we will be and how fast we grow. But I would assume it's between 100 and 200 people. We'll have between 50 and 100,000 companies, which I know that sounds ridiculous. But the momentum is really starting to speed up. And so we will be the market leader in time and attendance for construction. And I feel like we will have kind of the same level of authority that some of these other construction softwares have that weren't around 10 years ago. I remember going to IBS 10 years ago, and like Co-Construct and Builder Trend and some of these, Company Cam, they were just starting out then, and now they're kind of the industry standard. And I think that we're going to be that industry standard, and we're going to be fully integrated with all these platforms, and that will be the market leader.
You know what, man? You said that sounds crazy. It doesn't sound crazy to me, man. I think what you've done up to this point is super impressive, and I believe that you're going to achieve those goals.
Thank you, Justice. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. We're always here to support you, man, and thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me today.